surprise, surprise, fired you. He's fired everybody at some point in time.
Prince did not fire us. He freed us to pursue our destiny. And, we appreciate all that he did for us.
Imagine getting axed from your gig only to have it catapult you to superstardom. Sounds crazy, right? But that's exactly what went down for Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, the OG duo behind The Time.
Okay, I've heard Morris Day's version of this story about you being fired by Prince, which I gotta be honest, if that was on my tombstone, I'd be okay with that. Like, Prince must fire me, right? I'd be excited about that.
These legends were bringing the heat with their record label, but then they decided to break free from the chains. They rebelled, and boom, they got pushed out. The question is, what sparked the rebellion? Did they think they were too big for the label?
With your band, Flight Time, and Prince, surprise, surprise, fired you. I say surprise, surprise, because he's fired everybody at some point in time.
That's where the drama unfolds, folks. But little did they know, getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to them. They gained OG freedom and status, and the rest is history. Buckle up, y'all. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis's journey to stardom was a wild, uncertain ride. But trust, it was worth every twist and turn. Their story's gonna leave you shook, gasping for air, and wondering if rebellion's the secret to unlimited stardom.
Now, it's interesting that this particular award is called the Legend Award. But in this case, I like to call it the Living Legend Award.
Let's dive in and explore the ups and downs of these music moguls' rise to fame. It's gonna be a hell of a ride.
That was the thing that kind of got us started. And we kind of
Bad
did a little.
Times?
Yeah. I can't stand it. You can't stand it.
Okay. Club record.
Yeah, club record.
Born on June 6, 1959, Jimmy Jam burst onto the scene as the son of Cornbread Harris, a Minneapolis blues and jazz legend. Meanwhile, Terry Lewis entered the world on November 24, 1956. Little did they know, their paths would cross, sparking a legendary American songwriter, producer R&B duo. But before the fame, they endured an uncertain journey. Jimmy and Terry met at the University of Minnesota's Upward Bound program.
So we met back, we were teenagers, junior high school, or middle school, I guess it's called now, but junior high school back in that day. And we met in a summer program at the University of Minnesota.
Upward Bound. Right?
Upward Bound, that's right.
Yep.
That's right. And it was peer teaching was the actual thing. It was about teaching kids like a grade below you math, so that they would understand it better, hearing it from you than they would from a teacher.
Jimmy was reppin' Minded Matters, a singing group, while Terry was holding it down with Flat Time. These two bands clashed in competitions, but their mutual respect was real.
So I had a band called Mind and Matter. It was like a singing group, like a Philly-style singing group. He had a band called Flight Time. And Flight Time was more like, Parliament Funkadelic, like a funk type of thing. Right. We used to do Battle of the Bands all the time. And, there'd be Terry's band would kick my band's ass. And then the next time, my band would kick his ass. And it's like we were watching each other, but we were admiring each other. Even though we were competitive, we were like, nah, but we should just join up and do something.
Terry's music inspiration came from his uncle and stepdad, who played guitar. He started playing bass when he found a broken guitar at home.
My uncle actually played guitar. And then my stepfather played guitar, and he left a old guitar in the house with a couple strings broken. The top two strings were broken, so I ended up playing bass because that's all the strings that were left.
Talk about making lemonade out of lemons. As for Jimmy, his piano game was inspired by none other than his old man. His dad's musical legacy lived on through Jimmy's fingers. And the rest is history.
I was a drummer at first, and Terry was the one that got me into playing keyboards because my dad played keyboards. He said, your dad plays keyboards, play keyboards. I'm like, cool.
Fast forward to 1981, Jimmy joined Terry's resurrected band, The Time. They killed it, playing instruments on all 5 of the group's albums. Life was good. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis's songwriting and production game got lit by a Time member who dropped some real talk. This group won't last forever, fam. You gotta future-proof your careers and learn new tricks.
And one of the ways I always remember is back when the Time got together, and Terry and I had started kind of branching off and trying to do some productions and different things. He told everybody in the group, he wasn't against it. He was like, no, that's great what they're doing. He told everybody in the group, go out and figure out what you want to do, because this group thing ain't gonna last forever. So he said, I'm gonna take some acting lessons. I want to try to get into do some acting. Jimmy and Terry are doing their production stuff. Everybody figure out something to do. And at that point in time when we decided that's what we're gonna try to do is production, a lot of the other guys didn't do that. They just kind of didn't listen to what he said. But Morris laid it out for everybody. He said, man, this band is not going to last forever. So we just listened to what he said, and we respect him to death.
Then, 1982 rolled around. Music exec Dina R. Andrews from Solar Records took Jimmy and Terry under her wing. They got mentored by Leon Silvers and connected with Clarence Avant. Fast forward to the dynamic duo's breakout moment. Jam and Lewis produced their first masterpiece for Clarence Avant's SOS Band.
If I still care.
Under Dinah Andrews' management, they crafted hits for Cheryl, Alexander O'Neal. They were on fire, collaborating with top artists like Janet Jackson's team in Climax.
We move into our newer stuff, the Human League.
I'm only human.
Herb Alpert. New Alexander, and of course,
They know their success would soon turn sour. Prince, their original label head, had one rule: don't produce for other groups. But Jam and Lewis didn't think it was a big deal, and they kept creating. Then disaster struck. They missed the Times tour due to a blizzard.
We had gone down to Atlanta to produce the SOS Band, and we got caught in a snowstorm down there and couldn't catch our flight out to make the next the Time concert, which was in San Antonio, Texas. So anyway, that night we're supposed to go mix that song, right? And we had recording time set up to mix. And Prince calls and he says, meet me at Sunset Sound at 6 o'clock or whatever. And Terry and I looked at each other and we said, okay, wait, should we go mix the SOS Band song or should we go meet Prince? Well, obviously we're going to go meet Prince. That was our gig, right?
And Prince was furious. You guys produced with the SOS Band. I told you not to produce with other groups, so you're fired.
So we show up at Sunset Sound and the accountant is there. And so we go, uh-oh, he must be going to fire us because, the accountant's going to give us our last check or whatever. But the accountant just walks by and he goes, oh, you guys have a good session. And we're like, okay. We walk into this little room. It's me, Terry, Morris, Jesse, and Prince. And Prince just says, I told you guys not to produce other records on other bands. And we said, yeah. And he said, you produce the SOS Band. And we said, yeah. And he said, so you're fired. And I was like, okay. And I got up and walked out the room. So Terry stuck around a little farther in the room. And then Terry, you can tell whatever happened when I left.
Jimmy was stunned, but Terry tried to reason with Prince. Man, we just wanted firsthand experience, Terry pleaded. Prince wasn't having it. Rules are rules, he blasted.
We had a short conversation where I tried to reason with him, like, why let us go now? This doesn't make any sense. All we're trying to do is better ourselves and learn more and have an outlet for our creativity. And he said, you guys are fired. And then, Morris got up and walked out. And then so did I. And so we went outside and we said, okay, so what are we going to do now? We said, go mix.
After getting axed by Prince, Lewis linked up with Jimmy and they headed back to their stomping grounds, the studio. Engineer Stephen Hudge noticed their somber vibes and was like, what's good, guys? You look like you've lost your last dollar.
We were like, well, what do you want to do? And he said, well, I guess we'll go to that other studio and mix SOS Band records. So we walked into the studio. The engineer was a guy named Steve Hodge. And so we walk into the studio, Larrabee Sound is what it was called. And we said, oh, hey, Steve. He says, hey, nice to meet you guys. We said, nice to meet you. He said, what's wrong? You guys seem kind of down. And we said, yeah, we just got fired from the Time.
But Hudge wasn't having it. Aw, man, that's why you're looking all down. Forget Prince. Y'all got a smash hit right here.
Yeah, we just got fired from the Time. And he said, really? And we said, yeah. And he said, I don't think you guys have anything to worry about because this song here, this is a smash.
He was talking about Just Be Good to Me.
Just be good to me.
The jam that had catapulted them to iconic duo status.
He pressed play, and that came on with that Steve Hodge mix coming out those big speakers. And we were like, whoo, okay. So, it was very much a Hollywood ending or what you'd call a Hollywood. You couldn't even write that script. Yeah.
These soul-snatching, heart-locking masters of sound were on a mission to revolutionize music. Armed with the iconic Roland TR-808 drum machine, they crafted a unique sound that would leave the world mesmerized.
Can you show us how you go about doing a mix?
Well, we just happen, since you asked, we just happen to have a tape kind of up. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to start out with all of these buttons in the off position. And I'm going to explain that we have 24 tracks here. And the tape that we record on, I can show you later, but it's about this thick. It's real big.
2 inches.
Bulky. 2 inches. Thank you. You give them the statistics.
We need 2 inches.
Big tape, and then you say
2 inches.
After killing it with Cherrelle and Alexander O'Neal, Jam and Lewis linked up with Janet Jackson, producing her groundbreaking album Control in 1986.
Another
We know what those are.
keyword. Y'all got it. Okay. Let's make sure everybody's following along.
Gotcha.
So Terry puts a cassette in and he goes, John, listen to this. This is some stuff from our album. And it was just tracks, right? So the tracks are playing. We're all grooving. About third song in, he goes, that's the one I need for Janet. We said, what are you talking about, John? He said, man, give that to Janet. If she likes it, give it to her. We're like, what are you talking about? So the next day we go to the studio. Janet comes in. She's just sitting on the couch watching TV. We just put the song on. We didn't say anything. We're watching her groove. She walks to the door. She kind of points to us. When the song goes off, she goes, who's that for? And we said, you if you want it. She said, oh, I want it. That song became What Have You Done For Me Lately?
I know he used to do nice stuff for you.
But what has he done for you lately?
And man, did they slay. They took home a Grammy Award for that masterpiece.
And the producer of the year is Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Want to thank our moms, first of all. Bunch of people. I'll read them off very quickly. They're all very important. I'd like to thank all the great artists we worked with this year. Force MDs, Patty Austin, Cherrelle, Alexander O'Neal, the SOS Band, the Human League, Janet Jackson, because they all need to share in this, because without them, we have nothing to produce, right?
But that was just the beginning. Their collaboration on Janet's next album, 1989's Rhythm Nation 1814, was straight fire.
It's time to give a damn, let's work together.
4 Billboard Hot 100 #1 hits and one of the top-selling albums in history? Yeah, they were unstoppable. Their winning streak continued with Perspective Records, their A&M distributed label, making waves in the industry. Perspective Records was on a roll with Mint Condition, Low Key, and solo artists making noise. Then came the soundtrack for the film Mo Money, executively produced by Jam and Lewis, featuring tracks from Mint Condition, Ralph Tresvant, and a show-stopping duet from Janet Jackson and Luther Vandross. Fast forward to 2003, Jam and Lewis relocated to Santa Monica, California, launching Flight Time West. And the hits kept coming. In 2006, they won another Grammy for Yolanda Adams' Be Blessed.
I want you to be blessed.
And in 2007, they produced Chaka Khan's 2-time Grammy-winning album, Funk This. Featuring the sizzling R&B duet, Disrespectful, with Mary J. Blige. These production wizards had reached stratospheric heights, garnering widespread love, collabs, and straight-up success. Who would have thought they'd blow up like that?
Their success is amazing, to have lasted. And not just that, but to continue to have major success, to still be major players in the game. There's a great deal of love and understanding there. And that's what's really important. They truly understand it. They're old married men, and I'm their little girl.
Success has a crazy way of turning haters into fans, and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis were living proof. Do you know that after Prince gave Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis the boot, guess what? Prince tried to recruit Terry again, but he was like, nah, I'm good.
A couple weeks later, he called and tried to get me to come back without Jimmy because his idea was to divide and conquer. Oh, yeah, it's business. I get it. But declined his invitation, and the rest is history. So we just moved forward from there.
I know, right? Mind blown. But that's not all, folks. After Janet Jackson's album blew up, Prince wanted the dynamic duo back, Lord Have Mercy.
And he'd known Terry longer than even me. And he was like, no, Terry wasn't going for it. So that we were solidified. We were always solidified anyway, but that totally solidified it at that point. Like, no, there's no divide and conquer. We're moving forward with what we're doing. And of course, when Just Be Good to Me came a #1 record, and then he tried to get us back. The epilogue is he tried to get us back. And
both of you guys this time, or?
Yeah, I don't know whether I don't know. Yeah, I think probably at that point.
What a comeback story. This whole saga is like an onion, and I'm obsessed with peeling back the layers. Here's the twist. Prince's firing stunt was just a bluff. He wanted to shake them up, but Jimmy and Terry were already on the move. Thanks to that sage advice from their group member, they'd shifted gears, focusing on songwriting and production. They were ready to roll, and Prince didn't realize it.
Well, the thing was, we were never really fired. It was a bluff. And we realized that when we went to the accountant to get our check. We thought we were getting our last check. And we walked into the accountant and they said, hey guys, they gave us our checks. And they said, see you next week. And the next week we went back, and the next week we went back. And after about 3 weeks, we finally went back, and they said, there was a guy named Lee Bailey. He had a show called Radioscope, right? It was a syndicated radio show. And he had cornered us at a concert we were at and said, I heard you guys were fired from the Time. And we were like, what are you talking about, man? We don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, we go back to the accountant and they go, oh, hey guys, we can't give you your checks this week. And we said, why not? And they said, well, we heard you're fired. And we laughed. We said, we got fired a month ago. Where'd you hear we got fired? Oh, it was just on the radio, Lee Bailey, Radioscope. So at that point, that's when the bluff was up. And it was like a bluff. It was like kind of like, I'm going to fire them and scare them and see how they do. But at that point, the wheels were already rolling because the record was coming out and everybody said it's going to be a smash. And it was. So that was the end of that.
Their story's a testament to taking risks and switching gears. Don't get too comfy, folks. Times change in a heartbeat, but preparation meets opportunity. With a career spanning over 4 decades, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis had worked with the creme de la creme. Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson, Vanessa Williams, Rod Stewart, the list goes on. Jimmy's got some wild stories about recording with MJ and Janet. Dude would walk into the studio looking all meek and mild, but when the music started, he'd transform into a musical beast.
The funny part, of course, was when Michael comes in to sing and he's wearing like, jingle jangle stuff and breaking all the studio rules. And he comes in all kind of mild. And the idea is, we're in New York. Janet's going to sing after Michael. Michael's going to lay his part down first. And I swear Michael walks in so meek and so mild. And as soon as the music starts, he turns into the Tasmanian devil. He's screaming and twirling and he's just killing it. Sings a whole song from start to finish. Our jaws are just on the floor. Just like unbelievable. Never seen anything like it in our life. When he finishes, he just goes, how was that? Back to his real self. And we were like, yeah, Mike, that was good. And he goes, you want me to do it again? Yeah, Mike, yeah, go ahead and do it again. Like we're totally like, right? Janet leans in between us and she just goes, I'll do my vocal in Minneapolis.
It's still surreal for them, working with legends and all.
You are in, Terry, such rarefied air. When you think about writer-producers who we know by a single name or whose names we know at all, it's Quincy Jones, Burt Bacharach, Jimmy, and Terry. That's the list. Could you have ever imagined that you'd be on that list?
Well, I never thought about it like that, Tamara. I tell you, I just love the music and I always say that, I just enjoy the process. I enjoy doing what I do. I guess if there's a destination at some point, I hope I never arrive there because the journey is the most important thing for me.
But here's the thing. Terry's come to realize that Prince didn't fire them. He freed them to chase their destiny.
I've assembled over the years a different terminology for what Prince did for us. And God bless you, Prince, and rest in peace, brother, because we love you. But Prince did not fire us. He freed us to pursue our destiny. And, we appreciate all that he did for us. And sometimes, being the boss, as we've learned over the years, you have to make hard decisions.
Can you believe Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis snagged over 5 Grammy Awards and racked up a ton of nominations? That's straight up awesome, fam.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the 2022 recipient of the Creators Leadership Award, Minnesota's own Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
And here's the crazy part. After all these years, they finally dropped their debut album, Volume 1, in 2021.
I was looking for peace and things it wasn't in.
Fans were losing their minds, wondering what took so long.
So, Jimmy, I want to know what took you guys so long to actually produce your own album?
We'd been thirsting for a joint album from these 2 legends, and they finally delivered.
Well, it actually started back 35 years ago because we were producing an album called Control, which is 35 years old. And Janet actually stole one of our songs from our album, which turned into What Have You Done For Me Lately? So it launched her career. It ended ours, at least on the artist side of things. And it's taken that long to actually get there. Yeah, so that's what's taken so long.
The wait was real, but they gave us the goods.
We actually reunited Morris Day along with Jerome Benton,
You're kidding.
So
which is actually Terry's brother. Jerome is Terry's brother.
That's right. What's up, bro?
And then for the band, we used The Roots. It's a great collaboration. I think you guys will really enjoy it. So.
And also the Sounds of Blackness.
And the Sounds of Blackness are also on there from Minneapolis. 50 years they're celebrating this year. So, yeah.
Jimmy's been making us understand all was good with Prince till his passing. No bad blood.
Was that the last time you ever spoke to Prince? Did he ever, or did years go by and he's like, oh, I see what you guys became?
Oh, no. We had a great relationship. He fired us. As Terry likes to say, he freed us. I think he pushed us out the nest. He knew. He said, you guys are going to be okay.
But Terry Lewis paints a different picture, and it's giving us all the drama feels. Terry spills that their reunion with Prince was cool at first, but then Prince flipped, turning bitter towards Jimmy. The reason? A deep-seated rivalry that left Jimmy shook.
But I'm curious, the next time that you ran into Prince face-to-face, what was that meeting like?
No, it was fun. I think the next time I saw him, it was all fun and games, basically, because we were doing fine. But it turned out, I think it was after, was Purple Rain tour.
Purple Rain tour. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we saw him in Detroit, as a matter of fact. I had no ill feeling at that point, but the way he treated, more specifically, Jimmy, because he had like a silent rivalry with Jimmy for some reason.
Terry claims he cut Prince out of his life completely because of that. OMG, the shade.
He wasn't treating Jimmy right, and that was the day that I disowned him for about 2 or 3 years. He was banned at my house. Like, you couldn't even say his name or play his music was banned. His likeness was banned because I just cut it off. It's like, no, you can't do my man like that and then expect me to be okay with that. That's not cool.
Jimmy's dishing the deets on this rivalry, and trust, it's messy. Even Jimmy can't wrap his head around it.
You know what? I don't really know. I met Prince when I was probably 12 years old. I want to say 13 years old, something like that. We were in junior high together, took a keyboard class together, and I was always impressed with his, musicianship. And I think he was very impressed with my musicianship because I played drums and keyboard. He played drums and keyboard and guitar. Like he played a lot of stuff. So I think it was maybe that. Also, we're Geminis and our birthdays are a day apart. I'm the 6th, he's the 7th. But I don't really know because I was always like his biggest fan. Like I actually auditioned for his band and I didn't get the gig, which was perfectly fine because Matt Fink got it and Matt was much better than me anyway. But I don't really know exactly what it was. But I never felt anything like that towards him.
But behind the scenes of Jimmy Jam's skyrocketing fame, a personal drama was unfolding. Since he was 15 years old, Jimmy had been estranged from his dad, James Cornbread Harris, a Minneapolis sound legend. That's right, folks, since he was 15.
What I didn't know, and so many others did not know, is that Jimmy's father, who is huge in the Minneapolis sound, iconic in the sound, they've been estranged since he was 15 years old.
Jimmy's dad had once put his music dreams on hold to raise him, and that's some serious father goals. But then he had a change of heart, wanting to tour and chase his passions again. Jimmy's mom wasn't having it, and the arguments ensued. Jimmy felt resentful, seeing his dad's dreams deferred because of him.
I just remember my dad wanting to do music, but he had basically kind of given it up to work a normal job to raise me. And I remember him and my mom arguing all the time about that he wanted to take a leave of absence and try to tour and do some different things. And it was kind of like, my mom said, you said you were going to give up music and, raise your son. And I always felt like, wow, I felt like almost resented in a way, like he couldn't do what he wanted to do.
Then the unthinkable happened. His dad dipped out, leaving Jimmy behind for 50 long years. That's a whole lot of pain, folks.
You are truly the story of our lives. Your music, how you've lived your life. There's no one in this world that has not been impacted by what you created. But in this next chapter of your life, you wanted to reveal this estrangement. Why?
At the time, obviously, as a kid, I didn't really I understood why he left or he felt the need to leave. So I totally understood that. And then we were apart for almost 50 years.
But Jimmy's on a healing journey, forgiven and understanding his dad's struggles.
Just because I knew how important music was to me in my life, and if somebody was telling me I couldn't do music for any reason, I just was like, I couldn't imagine that.
Your dad he's...
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
this conversation is such a big deal, because it is. It's
Yeah.
okay. That's what this show is about. It's about forgiving.
Yeah.
He gets how hard it is to give up on your passions, even for family. Jimmy's raised his own kids, teaching them lessons his dad taught him, and that's full circle beautiful.
And that's tough because, I mean, your father is one of the architects of the sound
Absolutely.
that's made you an international superstar.
Yeah.
So on one end, you are growing in reputation and name in Minneapolis, and there's your dad
Yeah.
still hovering over.
Yeah.
But you weren't seeing each other.
We weren't seeing each other. And I think the thing for me was I had gotten to the point where he wasn't part of my life and I was okay with that. But what changed that was my partner Terry always said, you can't be the boss or you can't criticize the boss until you've been a boss. So after my kids were raised and were grown, I realized that so many of the lessons that I taught to them were lessons that my dad taught to me.
Jimmy's message to his dad, no hard feelings, Pops. I forgive you.
And I felt like I wanted to let him know that I didn't feel any sort of bitterness or ill will or anything towards him. And I didn't want him to feel the guilt. I wanted to lift whatever guilt he was feeling about leaving, I wanted to lift that.
Yeah.
And that was, to me, the big opportunity to do that.
I love that.
That's the definition of a golden son. At 97, Jimmy's dad is thriving, and their reunion is pure bliss.
And we have via Zoom James Cornbread Harris Jr., Jimmy's father. Listen, this has taken my breath away. First of all, hey, Dad, how you doing? I see you at the piano, your favorite place there. How old he is now?
97.
97. He said, wow, Cornbread, we got you on Zoom because I know it is challenging to travel. We have a photo of you. This is May 17th, 2021, of you and Jimmy, your grandson. What is it like at this point? You've seen a lot in your years on this planet, but to be able to, at this age, have your son and grandson there with you, how did that feel?
Man, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. Oh, that's what I would like to tell you.
The best thing that ever happened to you.
Yes, right.
Now, let's get into Jimmy's happy place. He's married to Mexican-U.S. businesswoman Lisa Padilla Harris, and they've got 3 amazing kids, Tyler, Max, and Bella. Jimmy's net worth is a whopping $40 million. And he's still killing the game at 65. Terry Lewis, the other half of the legendary duo, had his fair share of relationship drama. This cat's got a complicated love life, folks. First, there was the previous relationship that blessed him with 2 amazing kiddos, Trey and Chloe, but that didn't last, and Terry moved on to his next conquest. Enter Karen White, his second wife. Their marriage was a whirlwind romance that lasted about 8 years before it crashed and burned. But during that time, they brought 2 more mini Lewises into the world, Brandon and Ashley. But Terry wasn't done yet. He tied the knot again with Indira Singh, and this union brought 2 more bundles of joy. That's right, folks. Terry's got 6 kids from 3 different relationships.
No, we used to spend so much time in the studio, man. I had children, so I would maybe get 2, 3, 4 hours of sleep. I would be up all day and then up all night and get my kids to bed and do that cycle all over again.
Fast forward to today, Terry's 67 and living large with a net worth of $50 million. This music mogul's got the funds to match his legendary status. These rebels left a legendary impact on the music industry, and their legacy ain't going nowhere. Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam are etched in history, and we can't get enough of them.
And I'm really proud and honored to present this wonderful award, well-deserved award, to Jimmy and Terry. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Despite the odds, they're still raking in awards and accolades, and we're still cheering them on like champs.
We're honored to be here. You know, it's always an honor to be honored, but we honor the music. I'd just like to say a few things because this makes me want to go back. And I want to thank the people who gave us safe haven, that gave us a basement to work in, that listened to the noise before it came songs. That's so important. My mother, she would do this every day. Turn that shit down.
But what's even more inspiring is how they've shared the secret sauce to their enduring partnership. These two music moguls with different sounds and tastes found a way to make it work. And that's the real magic, folks.
That's the way Terry and I are. We have different interests. We have different types of music that we feel really speak to us. We have different artists we work with that we have really close relationships with. There's some artists that I swear to God, if you say, what does Jimmy do? And they go, I never see Jimmy. I only see Terry, or vice versa, according to who the artist is. But at the end of the day, it's always Jam and Lewis. And we shook hands 50-50. We said 50-50. Well, that took away creatively all of the disagreements you would have. Well, that's my title. Well, that's my verse. Well, that's my melody. Why are you breaking songs down like that? No, 50-50. So there's songs, we're on the same team. There's songs that are 100% Terry wrote them and did everything. And I hear it when it's on the radio or when it comes out. And I go, man, that sounds really good. And I got 50% of it. So what do I care?
We're talking decades of collaboration, innovation, and straight up greatness. Terry and Jimmy, you're the OG dynamic duo. Here's to many more years of making waves, breaking rules, and creating timeless music.
So when people say we're going to cut the budgets in schools, and how are we going to cut the budget? We're going to take music out of schools. Are you kidding me? How do we learn our alphabet? We don't go A, B, C. No, we go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. What's that next? Right. No, we don't need the long version. We'll do the single version. Single edit. Our goal is to leave music in a better place. That's me and Terry's goal at this point. We are celebrating 40 years. We did this, and we said 50-50. That's our contract. 40 years on that contract we've been together. And next year we will be celebrating our 50th year as friends. 1973 we met.